time for Money for Lunch, where we feed your brain and your business with super-sized portions of business and financial news. Now, your host, Bert Martinez.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Money for Lunch. You know, we're having some exciting things happening here at Money for Lunch. We're going to be filming some episodes for the Discovery Channel / the Learning Channel, part of that media group, and we're going to be traveling to places like Las Vegas, LA, New York. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited about that. And also, we have one of our favorite contributors, Stephen G. Jones, on the show today, and he's always exciting to talk to because he's kind of like the mind guy, or the why guy. You know, he can help you figure out why you're doing things and how to change things. And today we're going to be talking about wealth, something that's on the minds of many of us. And sometimes one of the things that really stops us from having a very fulfilling life, and that is creating wealth, or in some cases, keeping that wealth. I've met many people that are just great at making money, but they suck at keeping that money. They make it and repel it almost immediately. Well, as you guys probably know, C.G. Jones is a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist. He has been practicing hypnotherapy since 1980. Since the 1980s, he is the author of 22 books on hypnotherapy. He is a member of the National Guild of Hypnotherapists, American Board Hypnotherapy, president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists, on the board of directors of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Lung Association, and director of the California State Registered Steve G. Jones School of Hypnotherapy. In order to keep up with the latest in research, he regularly attends training conferences. And I want to add this. He regularly creates different programs to help people. And what's really cool about these programs that he creates, they're all consumer inspired. People that go to StephenGJones.com and ask him for an audio or for a program on losing weight, on making money, on stop smoking. You can find it all there at StephenGJones.com. As always, I'm excited to have Steve G. Jones back on the show. Welcome, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Bert. Great to be here.
All right. Well, anyway, so you and I talked briefly right before the show started about wealth triggers, and I want to talk about this, and I wanted to explain to our audience what wealth triggers is all about, and the fact that also that you guys have a new wealth trigger coming out. So kind of give us an overview.
Well, yeah, Dr. Joe Vitale and myself released Wealth Trigger, the initial one, and then Wealth Trigger 2.0, which I believe is also called Wealth Trigger Reloaded, and now we're doing Wealth Trigger 360. We didn't want to just call it Wealth Trigger 3. We wanted to have a great name for it. So 360, make a 360 degree turn. Of course, you want to do more like a 180 in your life, but you get the idea. You want to turn the other way. You want to get, you don't want to end up where you were. But we want to show you just how complete it is, just how much you can turn things around. So what we're doing in this one, because we haven't done this before, is we're using specific tones that target certain abilities that we have. So I've done a lot of research, and I actually have a full-time sound engineer, and we've been doing a lot of research into using positive affirmations with specific tones, and we're finding that not only are they helpful, but people actually enjoy them. So we're incorporating a lot of that in Wealth Trigger 360 that's coming out in August, and we're also incorporating a lot of new information. People want to know, hey, Steve and Joe, how did you become millionaires? How can we go from rags to riches? So we're incorporating more of our backstory and more pertinent information to help people.
I'm excited about this. I know that every time that you and Joe come together, the product that you guys create, the programs that you guys create are just, amazing. And I'm a big believer in the Wealth Trigger programs that you guys created, Wealth Trigger 2.0, and now the Wealth Trigger 360. I think that, and I'd like your input on this, I think that what holds most of us back is not our degree or our knowledge or our environment, but it's really that inner programming. It's that self-esteem that you mentioned, that affirmations that are going through our mind. Isn't that the number one thing that holds people back?
Oh, absolutely. That's what goes through your mind is the number one thing that will hold you back or propel you forward. So we want to change that thing. The subconscious mind is most of who we are. It's probably about 80% of what drives us, and the little 20%, the conscious mind, is what we think drives us. But really those thoughts that we have about what we really believe about ourselves and our potential, that's what's pushing us forward and causing us to do or not do certain things. So we want to affect that for people. We want to affect that in a very positive way.
Yeah, I like that. Let's talk about this, because I know Joe's story pretty much. I mean, and for you guys who don't know who Dr. Joe Vitale is, he's very well known. He's got like 60-plus books out, one of the stars of the movie The Secret. But Joe, to me, I think is a very great example, and I think it's very typical of what a lot of people can relate to it and probably experience. I mean, Joe really suffered a lot of poverty for many, many years. And at one point, him and his wife were renting a $200 a month room in a house, and he says he told me several times that they struggled to make that $200 rent payment, and that back then his biggest piece of furniture was an Arab mattress that they would inflate and deflate depending on what they were doing that day in that room and what was going on. And so so he started really from humble beginnings. He wasn't a guy that just had a massive wealth or just a great upbringing. He comes from what he describes as an abusive kind of home. And so he, I think, struggled for like most of his life up until he was like 40 or 45, until he just kind of made things click. He was able to, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, you can help me with this, either release or reprogram some of that stinking thinking, and things started to turn around for him.
Yeah, I think both those terms are correct. Release and reprogram. He had to get rid of some of the stinking thinking, some of the negative thoughts, some of the thoughts that weren't really working for him, and then reprogram the rest. And when we think about it, a lot of times we have people who are, come into a hypnotherapist office, for example, who are overweight or broke, something like that, and you wonder, why would somebody let themselves get in that situation? A lot of times there's a payoff for it. There's a reason they're doing it. People gain excess weight so they don't have unwanted attention, because unwanted attention has caused challenges for them in the past. They lose money because they don't want the pressure of dealing with it, or there's some other payoff involved. So usually there's a really good, compelling reason why the subconscious mind wants that person to be broke and or overweight and or whatever their situation may be. And the subconscious mind has to be told that it's no longer beneficial for them to be in that state. You can consciously think you don't want to be broke or overweight or what have you. However, if the subconscious mind thinks there's a good reason for it, it's going to perpetuate that idea and cause it to continue on. So that's where reprogramming comes into play.
Yeah, and that is amazing. This payoff that you talk about is amazing. I want to go back to the person who might have gained a lot of excessive weight. And I read someplace that 20 or 25%, and I could be wrong with that number, but it was a very large number. It startled me because the number was so high that a large number of overweight or obese people are that way because they were victims of sexual, crimes or molestation or whatever. And so, as you said, they got all this attention that they didn't want, and they found that they became unattractive, or that they were protecting themselves. And there's the payoff. If I become obese, then I'm not going to be molested anymore, therefore I'm safe. That to me was the payoff. And so that's a great example of how we want to lose weight, but yet our subconscious mind is trying to protect us still from some something that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, and we battle back and forth. Well, let me ask you this. Is there a way to literally cleanse your mind and implant this wealth mindset that you and I talk about?
Oh, absolutely. And it all comes down to, reprogramming, rewiring, getting out the old, getting in the new. It's a process that I feel is best done with hypnosis. I mean, it could be done with long-term counseling also if someone wants to do that. Go to a therapist every week and talk to them for a while. When I say a while, I mean usually a number of years, but that's okay if somebody wants to go that route. So there is hope. There are ways. I believe that subconscious reprogramming with hypnosis is one of the fastest ways. And with the tones that we're using in the new program in Wealth Trigger 360, we believe it's an added enhancement, an even faster way to do it. And also, if you have just some compelling reason, you're fed up with being broke, fed up with being overweight, or whatever you're working on, that really helps also. That's usually more of a conscious help, which isn't as helpful as a subconscious help, but it never hurts. People get angry and they look for results. They're not going to be in this situation anymore, so they start to really get focused on getting results. So the angry approach is usually conscious, but it does have some help. The approach that we're taking is almost entirely subconscious, which tends to be extremely powerful.
Right. And you know what? It's something that you said there. It's amazing to me, the difference between going to a hypnotherapist who can really help you in a matter of, let's say, 1 or 2 sessions versus the other approach, which, as you said, either way is okay, but the other approach is going to take, months, if not years. And I think that one of the things that I've seen a lot of psychotherapists do is that they to me, and you're more than welcome to correct me. I'll welcome your feedback. Is they spend a lot of time trying to unearth, something that happened 20 years ago, versus just trying to maybe bridge that, or as we talked about, reprogram the conversation that's happening in that subconscious mind. And they waste so much time digging back, and sometimes they unearth just a humongous amount of pain that a lot of people stop going to a psychotherapist because it hurts so much.
That does happen quite often, usually in psychiatry. And to their credit, psychiatrists have questioned themselves for years. I mean, they got off to an interesting start with Freud. Freud kind of set the stage. Who knows if history had been different, and if we had a psychiatrist who had a different set of thoughts, maybe there wouldn't be so much time spent in childhood and relearning, discovering what happened in childhood and what went wrong, quote unquote wrong, and so forth. But yeah, psychiatrists are a bit well known for that. In the 70s, they started questioning themselves. I'm not sure how far they've gotten. I am not a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist, just for the record, is a medical doctor who's trained in treating mental illnesses and dysfunctions and so forth. So I think that you've got to decide. Do you like chocolate? Do you like vanilla? Do you like strawberry? Do you want a psychiatrist? Do you want a psychologist? Do you want a hypnotherapist? There are different flavors out there, different strokes for different folks. My preferred method, of course, is hypnotherapy, because I am a hypnotherapist, because I've seen it work. I've seen it work quickly. I do believe it's a complete approach. I do not believe that we have to spend a lot of time in the past. But yes, Bert, you're absolutely right. If you go to a psychiatrist, unless they've drastically changed their methodology, you're going to spend a lot of time in the past that I feel is not really time well spent.
Yeah. And so again, guys, today we've just been talking about the wealth mindset, and I'm going to leave it at that, the wealth mindset, because wealth means different things for everybody else, and there's different, as you get to one point, then you want to level up. And let me ask you this, by the way. I want to talk about this real quick. Sometimes I hear people say, how much money is enough, and that all these quote rich people, all they care about is money, because you can't drive all those cars, you can't, live in all those houses. So how much is enough? What does this say to you? Is this a somebody who's thinking in lack? Is this somebody who is obviously not in the wealth mindset? But what kind of thinking or questions does that lead you to understand about this person?
Well, if someone says that, then they may not be oriented toward wealth, and that's okay, because if they're not, they're probably not going to avail themselves to the services of someone like myself or Joe Vitale, who can help them get more money, start generating it in themselves. And by the way, our big secret to helping people get more money is usually just helping them tap into their passion and start marketing that to the world. There's really no huge mystery to it, but we teach them in a very detailed way so that they can thoroughly understand it and really run with it. But yeah, when I hear somebody say that, well, I don't need this or I don't need that, that's fine. I can relate to that. I mean, I am a minimalist. I have a minimal amount of things. I have great resources, but I don't have great demands for things. Joe Vitale likes to have cars, and I respect that. I have one car. Joe has several cars, and again, that's just different ways of using your income. For me, I like the ability to travel anywhere in the world at any time, and so. Yeah, so we see sometimes it can be an indication of people not being serious about making money. Sometimes it can just be a personal preference.
Right. Yeah, to me it always sounds kind of what we talked about before earlier in the segment about that fight between, yes, I want money, but if I get a bunch of money, then I'm going to be judged, and I don't want to be judged or whatever, and they get that hang up. Because, one of the things that you just said that a lot of people, for some reason, don't make the connection is that if you have money coming in, you have options. That's really what the money's for, is you're allowed to get involved politically, get involved with your favorite charities, travel the world, indulge in your favorite hobbies, get to your favorite schools, help your community. You don't have to, as you stated, you don't have to have we call it an overstated luxurious lifestyle. You could be a minimalist. You can, or do it as Dr. Joe, who actually Dr. Joe has a fairly, I want to say, moderate lifestyle, except for he does like to collect cars and guitars.
Yeah, he loves guitars, and he is a musician also. He's got about, I think, 5 CDs out now. And he also associates with a lot of very well-known musicians. So yeah, that's wonderful. I play a little music myself, so I relate to that. It is. I heard Dave Chappelle talk about. He's the comedian who he disappeared for a while, and then he came back, and he was being interviewed, and he says, yeah, he would because he missed out on a lot of money by kind of taking off like that. That's my understanding of his story. He kind of disappeared from comedy, and he didn't make as much money as he could and lost a few contracts, I believe. I could be wrong, and I'm paraphrasing. However, on the talk show I saw him on, he said, he's talking about money, and he said it is options. Money gives you options. Exactly what you just said, Bert. You have the ability to send your kids to a better school. You have the ability to do this or do that. If something comes up, you can handle many things with money. It doesn't make you happy, but it can make your misery a little easier because you can afford certain things. So it does give you options, and that's the main thing it is for me. It's the ability to do things that I want to do. I don't have to be, buying large things all the time. But if someone's into collectibles, like Joe, I think that's great. Whatever it is, it allows you to express yourself, and that's the beauty of it. It's energy, it's power, it's possibility.
I love it. And we're getting on that note, Dr. Steve G. Jones, thank you so much for stopping by. I look forward to having you back and talking more about Wealth Triggers as you guys release that. You guys can find out more about Steve at SteveGJones.com. Steve, thank you so much for stopping by.
Hey, Bert, thank you. Congratulations on the show.
Thank you so much. Guys, we're off and running. Great stuff there about the way our mind works, the Wealth Triggers. and you can apply that to our health triggers, and you can apply that to our love triggers. It's an amazing thing. And SteveGJones.com may be the answer for you. Like I said, he's got the largest collection of audio hypnotherapy CDs that you can download instantly, and they're fantastic. They cover everything. Anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break.